The world entered the 1980s carrying fear. Fear of nuclear war. Fear of economic collapse. Fear of revolution. But no one imagined that this decade would become one of the bloodiest and most unstable periods of the modern era. Across deserts, mountains, cities, and oceans, wars erupted without warning. Superpowers fought silent battles through smaller nations. Terrorist attacks shocked civilians across the globe. Airplanes were hijacked. Bombs exploded in crowded streets. Governments collapsed. And millions of ordinary people became trapped between ideology, violence, and power. The Cold War was reaching its most dangerous stage. The Soviet Union and the United States competed for global dominance while regional conflicts burned out of control. In the Middle East, war consumed entire generations. In Afghanistan, foreign fighters gathered for a conflict that would shape the future of global terrorism. In Latin America, civil wars and secret operations spread fear across societies. In Africa, proxy wars destroyed fragile nations. And by the end of the decade, the entire world order began to collapse. Empires weakened, walls fell, communism trembled, and a new era of uncertainty emerged from the ashes. This is the story of 1981 to 1991, a decade of wars, terrorism, revolution, fear, and transformation. The decade that reshaped the modern world forever. By 1981, the Cold War had already divided the planet for decades. Two superpowers dominated global politics, the United States and the Soviet Union. Both possessed enough nuclear weapons to destroy humanity many times over. Both believed the other threatened world stability, and both fought for influence in every corner of the globe. But the conflicts of the 1980s were different from earlier decades. The wars became more chaotic, more ideological, more unpredictable. Instead of massive armies fighting directly, violence spread through guerrilla warfare, proxy conflicts, insurgencies, and terrorism. Civilians increasingly became targets. Television brought scenes of violence into homes around the world. For the first time, global audiences watched wars unfold almost in real time. Fear became international, and terrorism became one of the defining fears of the modern age. Meanwhile, beneath the surface, the Soviet Union itself was weakening. Economic problems grew worse. Political unrest increased. And cracks began appearing in the foundations of communist power. The world was approaching a historic turning point. But before the Cold War ended, the decade would witness unimaginable violence. The Cold War enters a dangerous phase. The early 1980s were filled with tension. Relations between the United States and Soviet Union had become extremely hostile. The Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 intensified global fear. The United States viewed Soviet expansion as a major threat. Meanwhile, the Soviets feared growing Western military pressure. Nuclear weapons continued to expand on both sides. Missiles were deployed across Europe. Military exercises increased. And ordinary people feared nuclear annihilation. Children practiced nuclear drills in schools. Families built underground shelters. Movies and television reflected fears of atomic destruction. Humanity lived under constant anxiety. At the center of this tension stood two leaders, Ronald Reagan in the United States, and Soviet leadership struggling with internal decline. Reagan adopted aggressive anti-Soviet rhetoric. He described the Soviet Union as an evil empire. Military spending increased dramatically. The arms race accelerated once again. The world appeared closer than ever to catastrophe. The Soviet-Afghan War. In Afghanistan, one of the most important conflicts of the decade was unfolding. The Soviet Union entered Afghanistan believing it could stabilize a friendly communist government. Instead, it entered a nightmare. Afghanistan's mountains became deadly battlefields. Guerrilla fighters known as the Mujahideen resisted Soviet forces fiercely.